Hi guys, it's KJM and you guys know what time it is. It is time for a brand new year, new movie, Hallmark movie review. Last night at 8 p.m. Eastern, Betty's Bad Luck in Love starring JC Maley and Marco Grazzini. We all know him from The River, okay? He's in Virgin River. And I'm going to tell you this. Megan and I were super excited. We were saying that either this movie's going to be really dumb based on the title or it's going to be great. We were banking that it would be good because it really sounds like the name of a book. So I was so happy to see a title that said Betty's Bad Luck in Love. I am also unlucky in love. So 5 o'clock this morning, I decided to, tune into this movie and watch, and it did not disappoint. I'm giving Betty's Bad Luck in Love a 9 out of 10. This has been funny. It's something I'm going to keep on my DVR. I think a lot of us singles could resonate with Betty. And I just thought the chemistry between JC and Marco was just off the chain. Someone said in one of the Hallmark comments on the Facebook page that they were happy to see him in something that wasn't drama. So Hallmark, pay attention. This is an actor. Marco is definitely an actor that has range. I didn't watch Chesapeake Shore, but apparently JC was in there. And people really love her. So I think pairing these two together is great. And giving us this treat before February is just wonderful. I cannot wait to rewatch this movie. Once again, I'm giving Betty's Bad Luck in Love a 9 out of 10. I watched it so early this morning, I didn't have time to text Megan to tell her it's definitely worth watching. And it's not one of the normal Hallmark titles for movies, so I have no clue if this is a real book or not. But I was so happy to not see last week's A Scottish Love Scheme. That title had nothing to do with the movie. The movie was actually super deep and the title stunk. And next week we'll have Romance and a Twist. So we'll be back to stinky titles land. But for today, ladies and gentlemen, Betty's Bad Luck in Love is giving us everything we've been waiting for. All right, let me get into the premise of this movie. We see opening scene, we see Betty and her best friend Maya in middle school, out in the schoolyard watching this very cute boy play basketball. And Maya's telling Betty he just broke up with his girlfriend, make a move on this guy. I think his name was Bobby, make a move on Bobby. But Betty replies, our friend Eleni, she really likes him. I shouldn't really step to him. Well, fate intervenes and Bobby's ball bounces in Betty's direction and Betty makes her play, honey. She had her eyes on the prize and she was going to get her some Bobby. As she's sitting at lunch sharing her Oreo cookies with him, who walks over to see the two of them about to kiss? But Betty's friend Eleni. And Eleni puts a curse on Betty and tells her, not only will this relationship with Bobby not work out, but I curse every relationship you'll ever have in the future. Ladies and gentlemen, I think the message here is do not go for someone that one of your friends already likes and you already know it. It's just bad. It's just bad business and a bad way to live life in general. I understand Eleni didn't have any claim to Bobby, but still, if Betty's her real friend and already knows she has feelings for him, this was not her play to make. I always say a woman that doesn't know you personally, or if you're a man that doesn't know you personally, they don't really owe you much. But if someone is your friend or your family, they definitely owe you a common courtesy. Anyway, we see Eleni curse Betty. Betty takes the curse very seriously. Next scene, we see Betty is in a cab. She is somewhere in New York City, baby, because I recognize the yellow cabbies. And the crazy driving. And so basically she breaks up with her boyfriend in the cab because every time he's trying to open the cab door, the door almost gets hit by a car. So that's when Betty lets us know that every boyfriend she's ever had, something mysteriously bad happens to them and they get seriously injured around her. So Betty's convinced that Eleni's curse actually worked. So she swears off dating and also, her job, she is a risk analyst actuary, And it just goes to show she's a person that has an aversion to risk. She wants to weigh the risk. So if you think about it, Eleni actually foreshadowed the type of job Betty would have, because Betty is now focused on company takeovers and what's the risk for her company taking over certain other companies. So we see that Betty's trying to be very careful in love. One day she oversleeps, she gets up, she thinks she's late for work. Honey, it turns out it's a damn Saturday. But as she heads to the lobby because she couldn't get on the elevator because somebody was moving, she bumps into Alex, played by Marco. And he's moving in and there's instant chemistry, but Betty thinks she's late for work and so she's got to run. Heads to work, finds out it's actually Saturday, babes. She's not late for anything. She comes back and Alex is still moving. And it turns out he's in 5B, she's in 4B, so it's fate. Now, I'm going to say this for singles. I do not recommend dating someone that lives in your building. I have a strong rule against dating someone that lives where I live, on my block, in my building. Because if it goes bad, and we see Alex's character actually make mention that these types of romances are prone to go more bad than good, but he still takes the risk on Betty because there's just this instant spark. So we find out that Alex is a field journalist. It's actually one of the most dangerous jobs you could have. He's flown all over the world and been in, taking photographs in all kinds of battles and all kinds of craziness. And so Betty's like, oh, babe, even though I'm attracted to him and he's super hot, this is not going to work because I don't want to participate in any risks and I'm still cursed. Alex and Betty continue to date and there are just more and more sparks. It feels right to Betty, but she's so nervous he's going to get hurt. So he finally asks her out on a proper date, but he tells her he's got to take care of a couple things first, including going to play rugby with his friends. She actually follows him to the rugby game and breaks up the game because she really thinks he's going to get seriously hurt. He doesn't think that's necessarily a big deal because he did invite her to be there and, she's just overprotective. But then he tells her he's going to go camping with one of his rugby friends, and Betty enlists Maya to get in the car and follow Alex and his friend to where they're going camping. We see Maya and Betty in the woods trying to battle it out. Honey, I think a raccoon tried to get in a tent, but they really thought it was a bear. It was really some craziness. Did I also mention that Maya is planning her wedding to her fiance Raul, and everything with the wedding is going bad? She wanted peonies, flowers. Now she's going to get white roses. I love white roses, Maya. Very elegant. Things go wrong they lose the money for the food vendor, but then Betty steps in and Betty decides she'll pay for their food. And we get to see that Maya, what she thinks is bad luck, babe, is really just planning a wedding. It's just literally planning a wedding. From everybody I've known, shit just goes wrong, and it happens all the time. Anyway, back to Betty and Maya being in the woods. What they think is a bear really ends up being a raccoon, but they sound off the bear horn and in comes Alex and his friend and they see Betty there. Now, the minute he sees Betty, you can see the hurt on his face. Like, why has Betty followed him out there? He's probably thinking like she's some sort of lunatic or it's some sort of trust issue. But we go to commercial break and we're on edge trying to figure out what he does next. Well, what he does next is what any sane guy would do in that situation, not pick up Betty's phone calls. And I know some people are going to say that's immature, but if someone follows you someplace you didn't invite them, it's usually a sign that they're a bit unhinged or there's some trust issues or something. It's definitely a huge red flag in a relationship. And let's not downplay the red flag because Alex is a man. Stalking is stalking, and this was weird. And Betty hadn't told him about the curse. Speaking of the curse, I actually would have told him. Once I met someone that I thought could be perfect for me, I would have actually told him my concerns about risks and what's happened to my previous boyfriends. It may sound silly, but I would have approached it with honesty. And if he didn't understand that, then it wouldn't make him the right person for me. If he couldn't meet me halfway on some of the risks Anyway, I can't wrap up this review in one, so we're going for part 2. I'll see you guys in a second, but I loved Betty's Bad Luck in Love, and I can't wait to keep rewatching it. Once again, I'm giving it a 9 out of 10. All right, stay tuned for part 2.